happy to have everybody here. My name is Kevin Ahern, and for those of you who don't know me, and I'll be running the program that you're all participating in this summer. And some of you may not even be sure if you're participating, so that's also part of the reason I'm here tonight to talk. Many of you know why you're here, but not all of you. And I had things like that myself. Anyway, let me tell you about what is up and what I'm planning to do and why I think this is important. So first of all, for students who are in the SURE program in the College of Science, the CURE program in the Biochemistry Department, and the Jaworski program in Botany Plant Pathology, participation is mandatory, so you will be participating in that. For everybody else, it's optional. You don't have to. I'm not going to make you. I think there's some great reasons to do it. And one of the great reasons to do it is because it's going to look really good in your resume, and it's not going to take much work. It's not going to take much work. Okay. So that's my aim. I also like to have fun. Many of you know I like to have fun. And so I like to keep this as a sort of a fun thing during the summer. If you're planning to participate, I will expect that you're going to come to all the things that I expect you to do. Because I'm not going to basically say, yeah, you were a participant, unless you were a participant. Okay? So what is all up with this? So all of you who are here are working with a professor. You bet you're not working with a professor right now. Okay. So everybody here is working with a professor. And either you have been interested or your professor has been interested, or someone has given you your email address saying you'd be interested. And I would invite you to this. The program that I'm running is the OSU Summer Undergraduate Research Program. And what I will be doing with you will not be research. What I will be doing with you in this program that I'm talking about is providing a way for you to learn how to give scientific talks if you're a scientist, learn how to give other talks if you're not a scientist, and to participate in our symposium at the end of the summer. So at the end of the summer, which is typically September, although I have some options for people in August as well. Students who have been working on their talks stand up and talk about the work that they did with their professor during the summer. That's the idea. Now, there's some important reasons to do that, obviously. One is being able to communicate. Your work is very important as you're leading OSU. Another important thing is that, how many people in here have heard of transcript notation? Okay, so this is one of the things that will qualify you for transcript notation. Transcript notation requires you to do a public performance where you are talking about or performing or whatever it is, most that you have done. This will qualify for that public presentation part of the transcript notation. Okay. And the third, as I noted before, is that this you can put on your resume. So if you put on your resume and somebody contacts me and says, hey, was Corinne Fargo in the 2014 OSU Summer Undergraduate Program, I will say yes. And I will also point them to a webpage where, if Corinne's mentor is okay with it, we'll post a video of her talking. Okay? And so many students have found having an online video has been very, very good for them as they go to the next phase, whether that's a graduate program, whether that's a professional program like medicine or dentistry or something like that. So these things, and they're very visible. You'll have the URL, you can send family and friends and so forth, and they can watch you, and of course for professional purposes you can run your resume and things like that. All right, so that's what's up with it, and I hope that you will participate in that program. Now what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to give you a sort of informational session about how the program will run this summer, and then in about a week or so I'll make another video that you're also welcome to come watch if you want, but you won't be required to, where I'm going to give you Kevin's tips for how to give a professional presentation. Okay. So I've got some things that I really think students need to understand and learn about presentation. And some of these, as I will point out to you, are things that your mentor is going to do pretty poorly. Okay? People always find that funny. And it is. Because there are things that mentors do because they've done it for years and never pay attention to what they're saying. And when you point out to them what they're saying, they go, oh my God. Okay, so if you know those, you're going to be smarter than your mentor. Anyway, I'll have a presentation on that. I'll announce that as well. It's nice to have at least a few people watching so that you don't feel like you're talking to an empty room. And I've done that, where I've done problem-solving videos for my classes. And what I do is I get the camera, and I go to a room like this, and I stand and I work the problems, and I'm talking to the camera in an empty room. And some people walking by is looking at me and saying, kind of weird. Anyway, that's good. All right. Well, that said, I've got to tell you a story. I'm gonna not talk too long. I like this story. So this is a true story. So I went to Boston this past weekend to attend a conference on education and strategies for education. It was parts of it were very good, and parts of it were like, oh my God, it was really bad. Okay, and so I got to tell you one of the bad parts, because I'm feeling like I'm going to be one of the bad parts of what I'm going to tell you. Okay? So, and Dear and I both went to this meeting, and we go to a talk, and the title of the talk is How to Liven Up a Dead Class. So you think, hey, we've all had those days where we're not there as instructors, we're not communicating, we're not connecting the way that we want. So maybe if I go and listen to somebody who's got some experience with how to liven up a dead class, I can do something and learn how to liven up a dead class. So we're going to this thing, we're feeling pretty good. And we sit down, and the room is pretty full. There's a lot of people that are worried about, their classes being dead, right? Well, this guy gets up and he starts talking. And within, 15 seconds after he opens his mouth, I look over to Indira and I go, all right? Because, A, this person is one of the driest people I've ever seen in my life. Okay? B, he's one of the most vanilla people. No anything interesting about him whatsoever. And C, he had what arguably was one of the ugliest presentations I'd ever seen in my life. And I'm thinking, his students are going to watch him, his students are going to do this, and he's going to show them this stuff that he's showing them. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay. His PowerPoint slides. Okay. What's one of the rules of PowerPoint slides? You don't put too many things on a PowerPoint slide. You can take paragraphs of text and he compressed it into the tiniest possible size you can fit, as much as he possibly could onto a presentation. And then he proceeded to read it line by line by line by line. Okay? And the delivery was amazing. It was as if Stephen Colbert was standing up there telling you, playing it in character. We kept expecting at any moment this guy is going to drop out of character, and he's going to say, "Oh, just kidding, It didn't happen. So it was the only talk of the day I didn't get drowsy in, because I was sitting there just trying to keep from laughing. It was so hilarious. I'm saying that because I'm going to show you a presentation today. I have 5 minutes this afternoon to put it together. Okay, so I'm going to apologize for my presentation in advance. And I hope that you guys aren't thinking about me and my presentation style, okay, after you see what I'm going to show you. Because this is one slide I have, okay, after I show it to you. So bear with me. I promise when I talk about how to give a PowerPoint presentation, I will actually have a good one. Okay. Well, as I said, my name is Kevin Ahern. I like to go by Kevin. So those of you who don't know me, I really don't like to be called Dr. Ahern. Please call me Kevin. That's one thing. Number two, you're all being paid by a variety of sources. Okay? So you've got URISC, and you've got Sure, and you've got Cure, and you've got Jaworski, and you've got Johnson money, and you've got all kinds of different monies. Those monies come from, okay, in many cases, donors. And those donors have, done a fair amount of donating to make their summer possible. So one of the things that I will ask you is that you remember that, and that you be good at being communicative with donors as your colleges and as your mentors may ask for that. We actually have 80 students that I have on my list right now for this summer's program. The biggest I've ever had was 75, and that was back when I had an HHMI program that was funding a pretty fair number of those students. We don't have an HHMI program this summer, so it tells you that there's a lot of generous people that have made this possible, and so I hope that you will remember them as you're going on. The thing I'm going to talk to tonight is going to be on video, so if you need to leave early, doesn't mean you won't get up at this point. If you need to leave early, I will post this on YouTube, and you can watch that. I do expect that you, if you do need to leave early, that you will watch the entire video, and that you will watch the video on getting presentations, because that's going to be important for the first get-together that we're going to do. What's going to happen is we're going to meet in small groups during the summer. So I'll send out an email to everybody on the list saying, here's the sign-up sheet is available outside of my office. You can come sign up for a time that you want, and we'll have groups of 8. Okay? So each session will last about 2 hours. The first one won't last 2 hours, I can assure you that. But everybody comes and they bring to that session a PowerPoint presentation or a keynote. If you like keynote, I like keynote a lot. Bring a keynote or whatever to that meeting. Then you're going to stand up and you're going to talk, and we're going to give you feedback about that. That's really what happens. So everybody needs to bring one of those. And so I want you to watch my video on how to give a presentation before you come to that. So that's going to hopefully help you not to fall in some of the traps that people fall into. Okay, please bring your presentation on a jump drive. Bring the presentation on a jump drive. Don't come and say, oh, I'm going to download it off my email. That takes time, and we don't have a lot of time. So bring it on a jump drive when we set it. So that's important to keep. Okay, as I said, at the end of the summer, this whole thing that we do here is done in an OSU symposium. The OSU symposium is a very big deal. We videotape that, as I say, we put it on YouTube. We notify all of the press about that, and I'm actually hoping to get some very good publicity for that this year. How many people here know what the Terra magazine? Have you seen Terra magazine? Okay, so Terra magazine in the current issue is doing a big article on undergraduate research, and they're doing that because, again, we've had this going on for some time. So it's important for students to participate in that and basically show not only what you can do, but also what OSU can offer. So I hope that you will want to do this for that reason. The symposium will be held mostly in September, but there are always people who can't meet it on the 2 or 3 days that I've scheduled. With 80 people, it's going to take about 2.5 days of talks. And yes, I do like you to come to all the talks. I realize that isn't always possible, but I can tell you I will be there on those talks. And so I feel if I can be there, you can be there for a good number anyway. So please plan to be at those talks if you can. If you have something that prevents you from being able to participate in the symposium, I don't have dates yet, I will have dates soon. If something that prevents you from participating in the symposium at the date that is listed, then let me know, and let me know early. So, hey, I've got a vacation planned, I can't be there, or I've got a trip to Brazil, and I've got an internship I have to go do, et cetera, or I'm from another school, and I have to get back to school, sometimes I have that going on. Let me know. I will have session in August, and sometimes I have sessions in October or even December for people who are, say, from Corvallis and go off to school, and then they come back Christmas, and we do mini symposium. So I have a lot of options for you. A second requirement of students in the program is that I expect that you will submit at the end of, I say at the end of the summer, but it's really at the end of the year, a written report of your work. A written report of your work. So you're going to do 2 things. You're going to present a scientific, or I shouldn't say scientific, you're not saying science, but a professional talk, okay, at the symposium. And second, you're going to do a report. The report is mandatory for students to participate in the program. But the advantage of doing the report, A, you learn how to write a report in an appropriate manner here. And second, we publish those reports, many of those reports, in the undergraduate research journal we have called Catalyst. So many students are using their publications in the Catalyst as a way of, again, showing accomplishments that they've done as undergraduates, and that's an important thing. Okay. Now, I will send to you, where's my, okay, I will send to you a link, all right, after this thing is done, where you can download all of the things that I'm telling you here. So it's a document that's going to tell you all this stuff. It's going to have URLs, it's going to have various other things. And one of the URLs it's going to have is a link to videos that students in last year's program gave. Okay? Now, I'm not going to make you watch all the videos. That would just be wasting your time and so forth. But I will ask you to watch 3 of them. If you were in the program last year, is there anybody here who was in the program last year? No. Oh, okay, you were young. Sorry. I didn't see you back there. So, all right. If you were in the program last year, you don't have to do that. Okay? But if you were not in the program last year, then I want you to watch 3 of those videos. And you're going to see something about the format, something that students have done. And it'll give you some idea of what's there. The thing I tell students when I first meet with them is everybody's sitting back right now listening to me going, oh my God, there's all kinds of things that I have to do. Oh my God, Ahern's going to kill me, right? That I've got, and I'm just starting the lab, I'm just starting to work with a professor, I've never done anything like this before, okay? And I'm not going to be anything like those people that are there talking, okay? And my promise to you is that no matter what happens, I will help you to have a talk at the end of the summer. Okay? So there's no expectation that I have for the talk in terms of the work that you're going to perform. I don't expect you're going to cure cancer. If you do, I'm very happy with that. If you invent a new wheel, that would be nice too, I suppose. Okay? But the point is that this symposium is not about accomplishments. It's not about research progress. It's about learning how to communicate. Is that clear? And since most of the people in here were not in the program last year anyway, most people have the same thought that you do. Oh my God, what am I going to do? So I can assure you it's not going to be like that. And the first time you come and you talk, you're going to be nervous and anxious and so forth. But rest assured that, as I say, I don't have any expectation that you're going to cure cancer. And every student that you're going to see in those videos that are online had the same thought that you did sitting there. They have the same thought that you did sitting there. So they're going to you're going to learn like they do. Okay. The best way I have to stay in touch with you is by email. So please use your own email account and don't forward from it to something else. The reason I say that is because I send things to a listserv. Your emails are all on a listserv. If you forward from that email to something else, like Gmail or Hotmail, or Yahoo or something like that, then those have spam filters that occasionally kick in. And when they see things coming from a listserv, what will happen is they'll block them. So that means I can't be in touch with you. And I really do, in some cases, be in touch with you fairly quickly if there's something that should arise or something like that. So please use your OSU own account. I see most people send you those accounts. But second, don't forward from that account to something else, because that will, in many cases, cause problems. And the problems happen when you least expect them. Most of you them, so please don't do that. Okay. If you're not an OSU student, then of course using your home account for your home university is perfectly fine. Okay. I'm getting close to the end, actually. The next to last thing that I have to say is that there are 80 of you, if every one of you participates, there are 80 of you this summer that will be participating. And I really enjoy working with you, I truly do. But I also have to ask you to maintain a very high standard. Okay? Be responsible. If you sign up for something, come to it. Okay? And if you have to change, make arrangements to change. Don't try to change after the fact. I forgot to go, so I'll go to this new one. Right? So if you sign up for a session on Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and you forgot to go, or something came up, you had a flat tire, okay, you couldn't make it there, don't just automatically assume that you can go on Wednesday at 1 o'clock, because most of these will be full. And if you do, then you're just going to overcrowd us there. Okay? So if you know in advance that, hey, I've got a doctor's appointment, I signed up, and now my doctor says I've got to come in, then what I ask you to do is to swap with somebody else. And I don't need to approve that, I don't need to do anything with that, but I do want you to swap with somebody else, and then let me know. So I'm not waiting for you to come, and maybe the person you swap with didn't show up, for example. So make sure that you swap with somebody else if you need to swap times or that sort of stuff. The way I'm setting things up this year is a little bit different than what I've done in the past. In the past, I would meet with students every 2 weeks during the summer. And for the group of this size, it's just too big for me to do that. So So that's why I'm doing the video of how to do a presentation. That's how I spent a lot of the first meeting with students, was working on how to do that presentation. This summer you're going to watch it on video, and so you'll be coming in for what will be the equivalent of the second presentation. You will learn how to make your presentation. And you're going to give it for the first time. Okay, so that first meeting that I'll have with you will be probably after July the 4th. Okay. Probably, in fact, almost certainly after July the 4th. So the sign-up sheet will start probably that week after July the 4th, and it'll be pretty jam-packed. To meet with 80 of you, you need to keep in mind it's 10 2-hour sessions I'm going to be in with you. Okay. That's why I need you to be responsible. I need you to show up. Oh my God, can I meet with you later because I forgot to come? Well, I was there. You weren't there, and I'm spending 20 hours already working on stuff. So be responsible. I recognize that emergencies happen blah, blah, sometimes, but please be responsible. I really can't be your mother. Okay? And that's important. I want to work with you, I want to help you, but I really have to emphasize it. Because A, I don't get paid to do this. I'm doing this for free. Right? And I'm doing it because I think it's important for OSU students to have this outlet for stuff. But I'm not being paid by OSU to do this. Okay, so that's one thing. And the second thing is that I don't have any support. It's me. So I don't have a secretary, I don't have anything else to help me to pull this off. So that's why I need your help. And if you work with me and you help me, then we can keep this going. Okay? I'm doing it, this is actually the 16th summer that I've done this with students. Okay? I'm doing it because for the first 15 summers, I had students that worked with me and they were very good. I'm sure you guys do too. I'm not complaining about that. But I'm just putting that bug in your ear. Please, please, please be very responsible. Because this is also the biggest community. And it's bigger by 8 students. It's still growing, so we're still getting more and more students in that involvement. Okay, let's see. The last two last things, 2 minor things. One is, part of what I hope you learn this summer, okay, in working with me, is something about being what I call a professional. Okay? So professionalism is something that I hold very high and that I want you to do. Professionalism involves many levels. Part of it is being responsible, as I'm saying, with showing up on time, doing things that I expect you to do. Being responsible with your actions and so forth like that. It also means having very high standards. So I want you to hold yourself to a high standard, whether it's the talk that you give, the presentation that you put together, the interactions that you have with each other. Have that standard up high. The more you hold yourself to a high professional standard, better you're going to be when you leave this and you go and do something else. So that's very important. That's just kind of a pep talk kind of thing. The last thing, and this is something that I find that I'm amazed. Now, I'll tell you this, and half of you will still not follow this instruction. And this is unprofessional. Okay? If you send me something, you send me an attachment. First place, don't make it for 2 or 3 megabytes in size. If everybody sends me an attachment, okay, that's 5 megabytes in size, then that means that I've got 400 megs sitting in my OSU owner account, which only holds 500 megs. Okay? I've actually had people bomb my email overnight because they sent me a 35 megabyte attachment because they didn't know how big it was. The system that they were on let them send a 35 megabyte attachment. Send attachments that are small. If it's not smaller than 5 megabytes, then bring in, on a jump drive or something that I can look at. Right? That's one thing. And the second, this is the thing that I find that people don't do. This amazes me. If you send me something that you want me to use, so at the end of the summer, what's going to happen is I'm going to say, okay, I need to get your PowerPoint presentations so I can have them all on the computer. So on the day of the symposium, we don't have to fitz with, jump drives. We don't have to, people try to download their stuff. They're all going to be sitting on the computer. So that means that you're going to need to either send it to me or you're going to need to bring it into me, right? When you do that, the dumbest thing that you can do is name it as follows. Presentation. PowerPoint. Anything that you send out that's important should have your name on it. Now this is an important lesson to learn, and people don't learn this. It's an important lesson to learn. I would like you to imagine that you're applying for a job that pays $150,000 a year, and they've asked you to send your resume to them. Are you going to label that resume? You're probably not. And the reason you're not, if you are, you're an idiot. Okay? Because A, you want them to be able to find you very easily. But the bigger reason is as follows. The person that's getting these emails is grabbing those attachments and they're putting them into a folder. Now, if there's already a message there that says resume, and they put in that folder and your name is resume, you've replaced the one that was there previously. And the next person that comes along with the name resume is going to have yours replaced. Okay? Don't be stupid. Right? So that's also a courtesy. Okay? I don't want to have to go through and rename every one of yours because you didn't follow that instruction. That's part of professionalism. Okay? So name your things appropriately. Don't send things that are too big, and you'll keep me happy. Okay? Okay, I'm going to quit grousing. So at this point, I'm going to shut up and ask if there's any questions that you guys have or anything I can tell you about the program that you'd like to know. Yes?
So as far as the meetings that take place throughout the summer, you said we're going to have access to a document that has links and everything. Will that have a schedule of tentative?
That's a good question. So what I will do is when the schedule sign-up time is ready, I'll send another email out saying, okay, you can go sign up outside of my office. My office is downstairs in 2145. And so everybody has the same opportunity at that time to go and sign up for it. Because if I tell you guys, well, I'll post it at 9 o'clock in the morning, then people don't know about it, and they don't get the same opportunity. There's usually not, I've never been any fights actually about it. People are saying, there's no time left for me to sign up. Well, there are, but maybe not times. So.
Yeah, my concern was you were saying that we need, if we're going to participate, we need to participate fully.
Right.
And if we're not here for parts of the summer or
Right.
we're out doing field work or whatnot, we can't.
Yeah, so if you're not, then that's a good question. Field work sometimes really does get in the way of things. Sometimes people go off. I've had students, that participated in the program that were in the Bahamas for the whole summer. I've had 5 students that did this. Okay? I've never been to the Bahamas in my life. I've never got to go, but I paid because I used to have a program that paid students. I paid 5 students to go to the Bahamas and do that. And I used to punch them. They came back and showed me their slides. So I'm happy to work with you on that. And if your schedule is limiting, I certainly understand that. And I want to work with you to make that happen. So in that case, if that happens with you, then I will sit down and work with you individually. Okay? So the most efficient way for me to work with is working with you. But I understand your time is not right. You're working out of town, is that right?
There's just going to be sometimes, actually, mostly at the beginning of the summer, so it sounds like our first meeting will be after that time. So.
Yeah. So I'll tell you just in terms of plans. This isn't a big time. I'm planning, usually what happens is in about 3 meetings normally, we'll have the stuff pretty much together and then it's sort of a polish up meeting after that. Since I'm taking care of the first meeting with the video, I'm anticipating 2 main meetings with video. So it's not going to be a big time commitment for us. Yeah.
Is Prezi not allowed?
Is what?
Prezi instead of PowerPoint?
What's Prezi?
He's just.
Oh, I know what Prezi is. Oh, yeah, I know what Prezi is. Isn't that an open source thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a browser? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Through a browser would be fine. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Are we also going to work on poster presentations or just PowerPoint?
That's a very good question. I don't have an answer to that question. We've never done posters in the past. Okay? And the reason we haven't done posters in the past is if I say, okay, you can do a poster or you can talk, then about 3/4 of the people are immediately going to go, poster! And I think learning to talk is important. Now, I think your question was more, are we going to learn how to do a poster instead of do a poster? I'm probably not the best person to teach you that, I'll be honest with you. So what I would say is if you'd like some ideas on how to do that, come see me and I'll work with you one-on-one. But I don't want to make a sort of a giant presentation to people that I think is probably, I just don't feel like I'm the person to teach something like that. But I'm happy to work with you on something that you've done. As my wife will tell you, I have the worst eye. Right? That's beautiful, right? not beautiful. But I'm probably not the right person to help you with layout and stuff like that. I just don't do a good job.
So you mentioned that we should be communication with letters, and I was wondering if sending use notes or like a full things letter, much like we do for like quality of science scholarship, if that would be incorporated, that would be.
Good question. So the question is, should we send thank you notes like various scholarships and so forth? In some cases, the donors are actually dead, so that's not possible. But what I would say is that your dean of your college will be in touch with you about that sort of thing. What I'm saying is if the dean asks you to do that, please do it. Because what it will say to the dean is that this program, students are active responsible and carry. But that's the main message here. It's not a big point. But I think that the deans are supporting programs like this because they see value to the students. It'd be nice to be needed. But they see value in what you're doing. And to me, the most important thing is the fact that you guys have a position to get into. So I want to see it. All right. Other questions? The last thing I'll tell you, and then I'll show you. So this meeting I'm at in Boston, right? I took this to my class, and it's a true story. One of the sessions I attended was good. There were some very good sessions. One of the good sessions was the value of questions. And the value of questions as an educational thing, very, very interesting. I hadn't thought about this before. But there are questions that lead to answers. There are questions that don't lead to answers. They lead to thinking. And there are questions that just are sort of conversational in the way they work. And so learning how to use questions is very, very effective. But when you ask a question, and you ask a question in class, it's important that you give students time to think about that before you move on. Right? Because if you don't do that, then what happens is that the question doesn't really get a chance to develop in the mind of the student. So this person, they did a study of this. They went out and they asked professors, do you ask questions to the students in your class? There's a question that's leading to something else, right? Do you ask questions to students in your class? And most professors said, yeah, I ask questions of those students in my class. And they said, well, do you let students answer those questions? Oh, absolutely, because that's the important part of the dialogue. Okay? How long do you give students to answer the question? And the average answer of the professor was 25 to 30 seconds. So they went to professors' lectures and they timed them. And the average time that professors were giving students to answer questions was 2 to 3 seconds. Any more questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next thing, right? That's exactly what they're doing with students. Okay? So when I say, are there any questions, and then I stop, I'm always thinking, I'm now thinking about this very thing. Okay? I tried this in my class today with students, okay? And I said to them, I told them the story last time. And I said, are there any questions? And I just stopped. I didn't say anything. I just stood there. And what I discovered was that when there's silence, people are always anxious. And everybody stopped looking at me at once. Okay? Because silence makes people uncomfortable. And they're afraid he's going to call on me if I look at him. And so professors are anxious about the silence, but so too are the students. And that's why questions get asked, and there's no time given for the answers to those. So think about this. Anyway, I'll shut up. If there are no other questions, and since I saw nobody while I was doing all that, Devlin raising her hand. Do we want to raise her hand? Seeing that, I'm going to call it in if you have questions. Thank you.